Don't necessarily have to make it big. I think there are a lot of auto folds in his range.
Yeah, I like it.
He calls, and since it's small, I still expect a lot of like king jacks, king queens to float. Still some.
And for sure, those that have like
10-9 in clubs.
One spade.
Yeah, and now the turn comes, and this is where it gets good. I see. All right, we're back with Steffen reviewing some hands, and let's just jump right into the action. I don't think for those of you who don't know who Steffen is, just watch the previous podcast. One of the best poker players in the world, very much specialized in cash game. First hand here. This is a high stakes tournament. We open the button around 70 big blinds. We face a 3-bet from big blind, who's also a very successful tournament player. Of course, we call, and we get a very interesting flop texture. And he checks to us. It's a board where I think we of course have some clear value bets. Then we have some obvious bluffs. But the question becomes, what do we do with hands like threes, deuces, fours, fives? What hands would you just choose as very low equity bluffs, if you have any? What hands do you have in your bluffing range if say we bet and the fourth club gets there, right? Yeah, tell me.
So yeah, I mean, first of all, those weird, 3-bet pot, big blind versus button, monotone board is something that gets played like very, very slowly when you look at like GTO-ish solutions, right? It's not lots of betting from both sides actually, and not any big bets, because it's too easy to react. Both people have flushes, both people have top pairs, both people have like weak hands, medium strong hands. So everyone is kind of not protected. So actually lots of people, like, you can mix, like in buttonless shoes, you can mix, and like you can even play check only and then react to what you do. And for us, it's just super important. If we are betting, we want to have we want to have equity against his calling range, and we want to have like good bluffs on certain runouts. Pretty much it's about preparing for any turn.
Yeah.
So this has, if we are playing against King X, we have two nice outs to making the nuts against King X, right? He is check calling ace queen, ace king. Obviously the 3 of clubs is not really cool.
Yeah.
Right? But if there is a club, this is one of our best bluffs, especially like unblocking the pairs that he is check calling. It's like if we have queen jack, we have first of all showdown value, but that would be a turn as a club is a very bad bluff, blocking the queen. I'm actually like, it should be a big mix. I don't here, but this is definitely a hand that is super cool to bet, 25-30%, and is totally fine. I bet that sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think it also pretty good to fold out hands like, in case he's 3-bet 8s and 7s, which is possible. We get to fold those immediately without a club, of course, and then he has hands like ace-7 and hearts that just opted to, or like even a hand like ace-10 and hearts that we might get to fold immediately. I mean, on this board, even against this sizing, I don't think we really want to continue, or I expect people not to continue. But yeah, for the same reasons, I think these bottom deuces and threes, and maybe something like, I think even ace deuce, ace 3 suited might even be better. What do you think? Which combo is better to bluff with, like ace deuce, ace 3, or pocket threes or pocket deuces?
It's kind of same. So going like thinking about 3s have 0 showdown value, right?
Yeah.
If we check down, our pocket 3s will never win.
Yeah.
If villain is kind of playing okay-ish, right?
Yeah.
He should never check down his ace jack high.
Yeah.
So that being said, it's about having equity or like good blockers. And ace X has 3 outs against the king, but obviously is like an ace is not clean, right?
Yeah.
Pocket 3s have like 2 outs against the king, but the 3 is always clean being set against the king, right?
Yeah.
Obviously a 3 of clubs, then has like nut equity when the board pairs again. So I think the pocket threes are the stronger hand overall.
Okay.
And therefore I like to bet with those more, but I would bet both of them sometimes.
So he check calls. Do you think it's a good idea to continue bluffing with this kind of hand on the turn?
Sometimes, since actually we do have showdown value to still check back the river if he's like calling ace jack, ace 10 with the club. So this is an optional bluff. Obviously we cannot bluff all those pockets always. We would be incredibly over bluffing, but this is how I think about it. It's an okay bluff candidate, but we cannot only bluff like stuff with the club.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is obviously what do we do on a rivered club? What are our bluffs? That would be a premium bluff if the club gets there. And therefore, I don't want to be really over bluffing if I don't have a reason.
Yeah.
Then sometimes not. That being said, still having a 2-outer to, well, a 1-outer to the nuts pretty much, and a 1-outer to a very strong hand that cannot value bet anymore, and a strong bluff opportunity on just like a club.
I also don't have 7-8 in my range. It's not something I'm gonna start stepping on the flop because I think unblocking 8s and 7s it's quite beneficial for the EV of stepping with a hand like deuces or 3s, having this immediate fold equity. And if I have 8-7 in my hand already and I don't have immediate out, so if he has a king, I'm literally drawing dead. So as you said, the 3s, at least having those 2 outs, definitely.
And they sum up, right? If you do that in the spot over and over again, 2 outs are 4% or plus implies, because that's why I say like 3 of clubs obviously is just improving, but the 3 of spades is a nut out, which means, well, we extract value with the 4% we are hitting something, or at least the 2% to hit a 3. Plus, this is very important that it's lots of people would now like size up a little to attack king jack, queen jack, anything. But this is just like what we learned from the solver work, for example, that all those monotone boards get played very, very, very slowly, and you wait until the river to explode with kind of a polarized range with like blockers and nuts. So it's really keep the pot small. That third pot, I mean, he needs to defend so much. What is he doing now? 9-10 with no club. I mean, he might be drawing dead. He might here. So it's like really a very, very useful sizing, and like it does not make sense to go like $18 here.
That's exactly my thought. It's like, what is he gonna do with, let's say, people also like to 3-bet hands like queen 5 suited. You know, big blind versus button is always a bit random for most players how they construct their 3-betting range. I mean, for 100 big blinds, it should be quite linear. You should be 3-betting hands like jack 10 suited, king 10 suited, queen jack suited, suited connectors. But I think now when it gets around 70-80 big blinds, they might start 3-betting a few more weaker hands. So yeah, definitely a hand like jack 9 suited, 9-8 suited that he calls once without. I'm really just attacking those. Ace queen without a club, I mean, is in a terrible spot. Jacks and 10s without a club is in a terrible spot.
Even any king without a club, right?
Yeah,
it's
but
like,
against 1/3, I don't think he's folding.
It's always calling, but it's always like
And I don't need a lot of fold equity. Like, I'm giving myself such a good price. Yeah. Anyway, he calls, the river pairs, and
that's like always the question I ask myself. I mean, I hope we are not bluffing that one. But this is now the big difference.
We'll see.
Ace 3, maybe Bencb is crazy, but I would hate the bluff. It's really like, when you think about showdown value, you can think about how much of in the middle still belong to you, kind of. Right? Like if you were betting Ace 3 of hearts before, you have a clear 0.
Yeah.
Right? I thought it might still be like, we were talking about 2%ers before, right?
Yeah.
Because this makes the difference in the end. We probably like still $2 to $5 of that pot or big blinds or whatever that is belong to us, because he just does not check jam his ace jack on the turn sometimes and just check calls.
Yeah.
So this is something where the value of our hand comes.
Yeah.
So now you go for it, and
No, of course not. I mean, I know that I have better bluffs here, and that was my plan, that if I think ahead and I on a club run out, I want to have some random bluffs, so to speak, right, that still have some good unblocking effects to his folding range on the flop. So for that reason, deuces, threes, maybe depends on the frequencies, fours to a certain degree. With a club, I'm just checking back. I think this is not a hand that necessarily wants to do a lot of betting. It would also be terrible with, let's say, 3 in clubs to get blown off my equity. If he's bluffing with ace jack and clubs, we can always call a turn, get to see a river. He might not be bluffing everything. That's just a hand that wants to, realize its equity. Definitely not bad as bluff as well. Again, we have even more equity. We get him to fold 4s to 8s, but this is then, I think the EVs of betting and checking with a hand like 3s with 1 club are very similar. What would be the hands that you would be bluffing on the river now if you play a bet? Would it be like an a6 in clubs, like ace jack, ace 10 with 1 club?
Yeah, like the blockers to this. I mean, he should slow play or like check if that line.
The nuts, yeah.
To 100% check there. Having the ace of clubs or the jack of clubs or of clubs, just all that. I don't know how wide you're defending. For me, this was a very small 3-bet sizings to what I'm used to from cash games. Even there being ante around, right? What I see an 11 here, not having ante.
Okay.
So I don't have the feeling right now after not playing tournaments for almost a year, how wide your range is. Right?
For sure, ace 10 often better.
Yeah, right. I mean, then, we have those hands, right, as good bluff candidates. And I mean, this run out, we are not barreling too many 9x, so we don't have, it's like it's going direction bluffs, right? Direction flush, right? We are not having too many thin value bets or anything.
Yeah.
So,
not sure if we even want to value bet king queen now, since we block a lot of his calling range, and he can still have aces.
Any flush.
He can have still flushes, yeah. All right. So next hand. This might be a very, very good spot for you. I think any spot is good for you, but especially with your expertise in cash game and deeper stacks. So we open king queen suited from under the gun. We face a 3-bet from hijack, a solid tournament rec. I think he's also streaming. I think he does. Yeah, he's a streamer. We call, of course, and we get to see.
I mean, it's not, of course. It's a great hand in a 4-bet range.
Okay, yeah. I was just debating the options between calling and folding. Yeah, that's a good point. What would be your 4-bets? Like ace-5 suited, king queen suited type of hands, or?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that deep, there are pretty much no 5-bets, right? So we are playing lots of 4.
We're playing lots of 4-bets, okay.
I'm not, right, well, it's a very, very different state with given the ante, right? So he has a huge flatting range there, I guess, huge flatting range there in position. What I'm used to is that people are playing 3-bet only there, not like without ante in the middle.
Yeah.
Which means they have a totally linear range.
Yeah.
They are 3-betting pocket 9s, 10s, jacks.
Definitely not in tournament.
Yeah. So I'll just explain that for a second. Then we come back to the tournament, and then I have to. And this is why you need to have 4-bets. Your 4-bet cannot be really that polarized, because you get all those flats versus 4-bets. People are calling jacks, 10s, ace, jack suited, etc. So it's stupid if all your bluffs are like ace-5 suited, ace-4 suited. You need your occasion ace-jack. You need your king-queen suited. You need your ace-queen off. Like hands that perform well against his calling range. And this is why the ranges there look very, very, very different, even though it looks like the same spot. And this is all because of that small little ante in the middle, which allows the hijack here to play a way wider range overall.
Yeah.
3-bet plus flat. And now, because he can't flat, his 3-bet range obviously looks way different. And given that, we need to react to that, obviously, and are probably a little more on the side. Yeah. I would, for example, never call ace-queen off here in that very early position. I don't know whether that's a thing there too. This is only an option to 4-bet or fold for me. That king-queen against his range is probably, just as you said, pretty much always a call.
Yeah, I think in tournament it would be bad to 4-bet king queen suited, because I think people are this is this ace queen off disease. Like, ace queen off in a tournament, you at least have to call a 3-bet. I think it's so often, and also in a lot of ICM situations, I see huge mistakes. And if people opt to 3-bet ace queen off, they see it as some sort of value / protection. So they always feel enforced or forced to peel a 4-bet. So that's why.
Okay. I mean, that would be a horrible peel here, but
yeah,
okay.
no, I don't think people are gonna. I think people are gonna be calling ace queen offs way too much.
It's like button versus cutoff in my world. You can sometimes call your ace queen off, but not always against the. We are here playing. Is it 9-handed or 8-handed?
9-handed.
9-handed, right? 9-handed under the gun. That's. I mean, are you open raising every ace jack off here? I don't know. Depends on the table.
I think in tournament it's fine with the antes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not.
Like,
I'm
really
folding.
Like 1 year away. It's. Like
I'm snap folding against the 3-bet, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, I call king queen suited for the reasons I just mentioned. From a theoretical, again, here, this is very well how Steffen explains the theory, and it makes so much sense. But when people don't fold ace queen off to a 4-bet, you should never 3-bet. You should never 4-bet king queen suited in the first place, right? So that's very well the illustration of understanding GTO, but then executing a more exploitative approach. Yeah, I mean, on this flop we have a clear check fold, and then on this turn, how would you approach this turn? Bet sizings, value hands, bluffs.
So first of all, I need to know your range again. Are you opening 4s and 5s from those?
Yeah. I would say 5s, yeah. 4s, let's say on this. Being that deep, there aren't a lot of like super crushes on this table, so the chances are high I'm opening 4s, yeah.
So we hit that board in a way that I expect us to hit it, and then that's a very, very clear, almost range pot bet. Right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's even like your hand does not really matter. If you check that in the solver and you have like a think it looks like now it's like 80% frequency, like just betting small because he is sitting on freaking high cards.
Yeah.
And I guess exploitatively, what I would assume here is that people just don't check back aces and kings enough here.
Yeah.
So they are even weaker. They are sitting on their freaking kings, ace queens, king queen of hearts, etc. Even if they have their ace 5 suited, well, they are fucked because still on the river we can react to anything.
Yeah. And also keep in mind that he is having a few more off-suited combinations, so our flatting range is mostly suited, so our air part is significantly lower than his, and we still have all the nuts, and we're not going to be 4-betting kings here to a certain degree. Like we it's not that he has a huge overpay advantage, however, we have all the sets, we have more straights, plus he might 3-bet a hand like ace jack off or ace queen off that we fold to a certain degree pre-flop, so we mostly have suited combos, so this already decreases a big part of our like air in our range. So you either have of these king queen suited, like of all suited you have one flush draw, right? 25% of the time. So and you have all the sets, you have pairs, over pairs, so you can mix in just betting this kind of hands very, very, very well. And yeah, I'm happy you agree, because these are the concepts. First of all, they're not happening as much as, let's say, in cash game, because 150 big blinds, 100 big blinds deep only happens at the beginning stages. 80% of the tournament, you're going to play average stack size of 30, 40, 50 big blinds, and you're way more familiar with that. So
that feels pretty great, right? That I like everything.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
That feels great, right? When everything I predicted so far, when I said I would play it that way, or I even like take the arrogant line and say like it should get played that way, is what happened next. It's like dude, I didn't see the hands. So.
Yeah, it's of course it. I mean, we've been doing a lot of content together, so it's not that our play style is like so far. I think some players might play it differently. But of course, it feels really, really good to get positive feedback on the hands. And I haven't checked it, man. Like I was really, am I doing the right thing here in a 3-bet pot, 150 big blinds deep? So yeah.
I think your sizing is a little too big. So I got
too big, yeah.
I go 30%, yeah.
Okay.
I start polarizing on the river. Like the smaller you go, the higher. You can bet in that spot, and I mean, you want it. They're attacking our ace jack, ace queen off.
Yeah, I mean, he is supposed to continue quite some ace highs, right?
Yeah, but those that have like only positive implies, like ace jack, are a clear fold.
Yeah,
Spotting our ace. It's like we are not targeting ace king right now. We have a block bet as well at the river with lots of our hands.
yeah. Do you think people are going to continue ace king 100% of the time here?
No.
Yeah, I also think so. All right, let's move on. He folded, by the way, on the turn.
Whew, I was a tough river, like a full brick, and we were sitting there.
Well, I would underbluff the river because I expect that's where I think you need to connect the dots. And if you expect people to overfold, like fold ace kings, ace queens more often than they're supposed to, then it's more likely that they sit on ace 8 suited, or maybe pot controlled pocket tens, jacks. Maybe, you never know, he is capable of checking back aces or kings. Then I'm slowing down. And I'm just, basically, I would bluff my 10-9s, like really unblocking all the ace kings. I would bluff my 10-9s, maybe jack 10s.
Jack 10, 10-9.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it, yeah.
I like it.
Let's move on. King jack. Oh, okay.
Oh, I see check raises incoming. Let's go.
No, not check raises. All right, so he opens ace 3 jack. I think clear call. Turn gets interesting. I didn't have any information at this point in time. I think he was from Brazil. That's all I can tell. Do you already start folding the turn? How would you approach it in cash game?
Sure.
Partly.
I mean, yeah. If I would look up the spot, it's more than 50% fold. I'm pretty sure. Just like sometimes a frequency call, not given the hand that super overbluffing. Now for making clear calls, I need to know either that he's like overbluffing or more about his river play.
Yeah.
That I know, okay, he's overbluffing now and checking back, or he's going all the way, that I really great river with a hand like that.
Yeah.
The problem is, I would, for example, I prefer to call a hand that has clear 2-pair outs. Right? For me, like a jack 5 is a little better than a king jack here. But obviously ace king blocking whatever is cool, but it blocks bluffs.
Yeah.
Would be a factor. But right now we have a 3-outer to the king.
Yeah.
Right? But if he jams, we have a bluff catcher.
Yeah.
Or bets large, because queen 10 gets there as well. That he has at least the 4 suited combination. I have jack 5. Well, I said the king blocker is probably neither negative or positive for us, but I have just 3 outs that are better. Right?
The reverse
now
implied
before we were talking about 2%, 4%. Now it's 6%.
Yeah.
Why did I say jack 5 and not jack 6? Tilt.
Do you consider bluff catching some jack X, or is it just purely going to be ace X?
This is just, I don't know. Now, like first, it's probably like a sometimes catcher. Good, or if he is one of those guys that learn betting, like bluffing the flush draws, most of the time the worst thing, which would mean I prefer to call king jack with a club. Or like my first impression is, what the fuck, this is the freaking sizing where he always has it. Because, well, I would just like go bigger. With like, and it's like always that ace king, ace queen sizing. Feel, obviously, if he's just firing random queen 10 here, or just going all the way with the random pocket 5s, which would be horrible, I guess. But I like in game I would always fold. In theory, if someone asks me, I would call like very, very low frequency.
I remember this hand. This was one of the sessions, and that's why I wanted to show that to you guys, that you can learn from my mistakes. Is, you have this session and you make one fold after the other. You're like 10, 15, 20 folds. You know they're good folds, they're exploitative folds. And you're like, fuck it, like I'm getting 3-bet all the time. Like, they have to bluff. Like I need to adjust my calling range. I'm getting exploited.
That feeling when all the other recs, like that, it feels like all the other recs met.
Yeah, exactly.
came to that agreement. Let's punish that Bencb guy. Let's go.
Yeah. That's how it feels, man.
Yeah.
So I ended up calling, and I think with this hand, makes some sense to go a little smaller, because
that's exactly the value this hand has.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. He played his hand very well. Not necessarily the perfect sizing for his range, but for his hand strength. Because if I
have that sizing plus an all-in sizing, but my experience is that when there's bluff heaviness, it's always the all-in sizing, right? Because then they need to make some ace-x fold, right? You are sitting there all aces in the world, right? And no one is betting, oh, I bet now this 16 and 24 or whatever it was. Just this is always like to charge him. That's the experience.
Supermarket price. Supermarket
this is why, this is the sizing I love. I mean, now that's not 100 BB, but this is where I love the check jams, even though I'm not telling a story that makes sense, but they are just not calling off ace 10 and ace queen what they are having every single time.
Yeah. Well, now we can all learn from this call down again. Especially on ace high boards, people are very fearful to go for a triple barrel. Alright, next hand, ace 6 against the low jack open for 30 big blinds. Now we are playing effectively 22 big blinds.
A call.
Yeah, of course, a call.
Anti, I love it.
Flop comes 4-7-7, and we briefly spoke about this in the podcast about paired boards with 20 big blinds. And he goes for a quarter bet, I think, which is very much sufficient for the stack to pot ratio in the board. Any thoughts?
I mean, we can do anything pretty much. We can small. I guess against that position, check jam is not an option. But
not against this position. Yeah, against cutoff button, I think it's probably fine. There's already 7 big blinds in the middle. We have 90 big blinds behind.
It's like important when you think about check raising. It's just we still haven't and a super easy fold if he jams.
Yeah.
It's just given the equity that we have against anything. If it was like ace of spades, 6 of hearts, it hurts us way more if like we check raise.
Sorry.
Well, he can just jam something like queen jack of clubs, right?
Yeah.
Why not? And then we have to fold our like ace. But this one seems like a good check raise small candidate, or call is obviously fine too.
I slightly prefer the check raising here with a lot of my range. Just protect, and then against push equity against hands like jack 10, 10-9, queen jack. Don't necessarily have to make it big. I think there are a lot of auto folds in his range.
Yeah, I like it.
He calls, and since it's small, I still expect a lot of like king jacks, king queens to float. Still some.
And for sure, those that have like
10-9 in clubs.
One spade.
Yeah, and now the turn comes, and this is where it gets kind of messy. Oh, damn it! Sorry. So I think we should definitely heavily slow down now our betting frequency. I think the 4, of course, reduces a lot of our value combos. But I thought just protection betting once again against like his floats with 10-9 in clubs, something like king jack with a king in spades. Some of these hands might fold. We get to realize our equity against those hands. I think we still have enough equity to place a small bet, so I went just for a very, very small block bet.
Yeah, I love that line, though I don't agree with what you said. I think we shouldn't slow down our betting frequency at all, because we are having lots of 4x in our check raising range, right? So what happened through the 4 is that against our nut part, Willem now has 0% with all his over.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
But our bluff part, if we have like a random, I don't know, like random gut shot,
a
random 8-9, and call it a draw against his or whatever, we still have the equity against his, like kind of like against large part of his range.
Yeah.
So actually, this improves our range overall, which means the betting lead, but obviously decrease sizing a lot, right? What is he going to do now with like a free king high, or with a flush draw? And this is why this is he could be dead, but he's clearly ahead of our bullshit.
Yeah.
So it's great to add that ace high there as well and not split too much. But I bet they're high frequency with exactly that.
I mean, I'm not saying like I'm gonna slow down, but I think that we still have so much 6-5, 8-6, and we have all the offsuited combinations, and we probably also get to check raise a hand. Let's say like king 5 with the king in spades, king 6 with the king. Like we defend against the middle position with this deck size, all offsuited kings. So that's what I meant by slowing down. That some of them we have to give up. Like and check.
Sure.
That's what I meant. I agree with you that we maintain a very high betting frequency, but now we have another full house in our range with any 4x, so we can continue betting everything, because since there are already so many cards out there, it reduces the amount of full house we have. And 6-5 off and suited is already 16 combinations, 8-6 off, the 9-8 with backdoor flush draw, the king 5, king 6. There are just so many.
Just what I was trying to point out is that the 4 is a very to a deuce, right? Like on a deuce, we need to clearly decrease.
Okay, that's
none of our bluffs, none of our
point.
range improved.
Yeah.
And well, he obviously has like a strong part. So
Deuce is the worst card. 3 is kind of okay. 5 is good. 6 is good. 4 is kind of okay. 8 is pretty good. 9 is also kind of is alright. So, but I think Deuce, 10, Jack, Queen, King, Ace are not the best cards. I call and then river. I'm not trying to make him fold an overpair now. I just check fold. I think that's pretty standard. Unless, what would be your main bluffs? Like, would you shove something here? What would you bluff?
I think I need to check range, and he can bluff, and I just have to call it off with my 7.
Yeah.
And well, obviously some call for the split. I don't know.
Yeah.
The problem is, I mean, our 4 now is bullshit. Our 4 plays the board.
Yeah.
So it's like, really, this is his card. I guess we need to check 100%.
Yeah. All right. Last hand for today. This was it's not a super fancy spot, but the way I always pick the hands is, of course, some, selfish motives in order to assess my game, but of course also spots where I see people struggling a lot and under bluffing, over bluffing. So
like, I know there will be a kind of tough spot because you selected.
Nah, it's
maybe we hit the nuts and get the whole stack. That's like the seeing the table. Probably won't happen.
Min raise from cutoff, Jack 7 off with the NT is pretty standard here as a defend. It goes check. And what I feel like is that people on ace high boards always give the check back too much credit. I mean, this is just what I read in Discord when people post hands in the comments. Yeah, he checks back ace high, he's never going to fold. A very irrational thought process. Why should we bluff? Like, wouldn't he bluff everything on the flop? And I want you to elaborate that a little bit more on these typical ace high boards, how we can establish a solid bluffing range there on the turn.
I mean, there are now, let's say, 3 different types of players. And people are talking about one part. There's the part that says ace high board, I c-bet. But what are they checking back? They are checking back, I have ace 5 here, so I check back and I can call him off. Or they just have jack 10, or they have kings. And this is the people, I mean, especially on that turn card, we don't want to try to move them off jack 10. Right? We can go crazy, maybe they do it, but like whenever I want to bluff or bluff big, I want to have a snap fold part. And this is what those people are lacking. This is the part everyone is thinking about, the typical, I don't know, like very, very bad reg. Not really the fish, but like the bad regs. Then there's another part that go super polarized. Right? That like that even c-bet their jack 10s and 9 jack to make 5 to have easy to call down, and they have their 5-6 of hearts that does not have any equity for the delayed bluff, right? Because this is super effective. If people get, like, if we check twice here and he bets, we are folding like infinite, and rightly so. But even like this is the line that gets infinite credit because pool of tournament players is never bluffing that line. So this is the second type of players, and the third type is just like the players that play somewhat good, right? And they have a good mix, just a good check back range, right? If they want to have one. And then it's on us again, right? Against the first player that always has like me. We do not really want to be bluffing, and we want to go big for what value, right?
Yeah.
If I have it here, freaking let's go, we are all in on the river, right? The second part, I want to go for small bets. Just to attack his air part, I cannot attack his ace X. And the third part is probably what we are talking about now, because
Sorry, can you repeat that after you said that we want to talk about now?
yeah, is against good players, right? We are playing. He's a like high stakes tournament reg. He's part of NLG. I don't know his game too well, but so I just assume he's doing things kind of okay. And there we need to play like kind of smart, right? We have our value bets. That means we need our bluffs to go with it, and we are in the big blind, so we have a large pool of bluff candidates. How I take it, and I want to use the best. Those usually that hurts check folding the most. Right?
Yeah.
I don't want to bluff my 5-6 of hearts here, but here the jack of clubs gives me a great opportunity for good river bluffs. Right? We can the 7 gives me good opportunity for like river bluffs when the straight gets there. Right? Having like lookalikes. If 7-8 gets there with the 6, I want to have kind of a 7 in my hand. And now obviously I have equity as well, so your hand is a great Queen Jack is like an okay great candidate, right? Has like 6 outer to the second pair as well. So now it's as well we need to think about which sizings do we want to use, and against someone who is like pretty strong, I only want to use a big sizing here. I want to attack like air part, checking back now. I can pick that off or fold out on the river with a block bet.
You want to use basically the big sizing now against a somewhat better opponent, right?
Yeah.
Because
like on that spot, if I was playing a reg in the cash game, I only have a big sizing.
Yeah.
And I choose my best bluff candidates to go with my value and like the more or less right frequency, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Like not doing the math now, but this looks like a premium bluff, so I bluff it.
Yeah.
Or
Do you think he should be betting range on this board, cutoff versus big blind?
I think there are several options. If you look that board up in Pio, there will be like lots of bets, but lots of checks as well.
Okay.
You can range bet that board, and that's just a simplification, which I like to like. It's a good advice for people that are like not like super premium top, because it's just a simplification that cuts away a large part of the game tree, right? So you don't only have to worry about that part, and you know exactly your range because it's everything that you opened on the cutoff, which means it's easy to react to anything. And if you would put it in the solver, you would see that simplification does not really cost you EV.
Yeah.
But it's again in that, well, it costs you have kind of opportunity cost, because I like checking back a lot here because I think people are playing that delayed way worse. Just think about if cutoff C bets, what are you doing in the big blind? You fold your 5-6 of, you played it perfectly. You fold any 5-6, you fold any random king high. So what I did was forcing you to play at least 30% of your hands perfectly.
Yeah.
And if I check back with a range that makes sense, I'm forcing you to play a garbage part of your range like terribly.
Yeah.
Like I'm forcing you to play it, and most of the time people play it terribly. Right? To never bluff, or to just always bluff, or bluff with the wrong hands. It's just you take yourself options away. So the stronger the player, my villain is, the more I like the simplification because I have less opportunity costs. The weaker villain is, the more I like checking and just pretty much playing my hand and pick up stuff because I will play the delayed game tree way better.
Yeah. I mean, from a theoretical standpoint, I mean, in game you only have a few seconds to make your decision, and
right. But I have the mark, good drag or
of course.
And then I have that prepared game plans. You like while talking, you probably kind of spot already. So I have something prepared when I face it then in game.
Yeah. No, absolutely. My thought process in game was that on this board, we don't have a lot of like, I'm not protection betting a 9, you know, I want to put in money with an ace. So I have a lot of high equity driven hands that want to put in a lot of money. And I also have a lot of high equity draws that benefit from, you know, building a pot and hitting a good hand that in case he check back an ace. And I have also a lot of hands that want to take down the pot immediately and attack his, say I bet pot and he has pocket jacks, he has pocket eights. Against a small sizing, they're probably going to peel ones, but jacks blocking all the bluffs and pocket eights are in a terrible spot. Or a hand like jack 9, queen 9, 9-8 against a small sizing, they're always going to be calling. But he already started taking those hands. And again, some of you might think, but what if he's a calling station and he calls all these hands? Well, think about that the main EV always comes from your value hands. Yes, you sacrifice a little bit of EV, you're going to lose more money with your bluffs, but you always have a high amount of value bets on the river. So if he's a freaking calling station, that will boost the win rate of your value hands insanely. But of course, you will lose some EV with your bluffs because you're going to get bluff catched more often. But you shouldn't worry that too much. As long as you don't start bluffing 4-3 in spades here, 2 streets, because you think he always has king high and you want to get him off these hands, right? But if you have somewhat decent bluffing frequencies and you have 7-8 and this guy calls you twice with jack 10 or jack 8, blocking all the bluffs in the world, well then, not saying it's a terrible bluff catcher, but assuming if he calls you down with a terrible bluff catcher, don't worry about that much. Don't worry about what might happen and have this very illogical thought process of being afraid of bluffing, even on ace-high boards. And also, the ace is great from the standpoint of it makes it less likely that he check back ace-5. It makes it more likely that he has jack 10, jack 9, pocket jacks, 9-8, pocket 8s, that we can apply pressure right now. Think about it like this, from a very rational standpoint of counting combinations, right? And then makes it less likely that he has an ace to begin with. So good to hear that you also want to go for a big sizing and he folds right away. Steffen, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. I think people have learned a lot. If you guys have any questions, drop it in the comments. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. I think Steffen hopefully is going to join me in the near future again, and we can discuss some other topics, what is going on. To everyone that is out there, take care of yourself, stay healthy. It's some nasty times. Wash your hands as frequent as possible, and stay healthy. Steffen, again, thank you so much. And guys, we're gonna put Steffen has also follow his Instagram. He has a coaching site. Follow his stream on No Limit Gaming and support No Limit Gaming. It's a great project. And then see you guys in the next video. That was it for today. Bye bye. Ciao.